present the customized version of the Africa Agriculture Watch. The platform has been deployed in 5 African countries, namely Senegal, Benin, Ghana, Malawi, and Uganda, and is accessible on aagwa.org/the country of interest, in this case Senegal. When you arrive on the landing page, you have here a menu. You can select the language of preference, English or French. In this case, we are going to use, for example, English. And when you get to the landing page, you can click on the About section if you are interested in knowing more about the Africa Agriculture Watch platform, the customized version. Here is a narrative version of what the platform is about and intends to deliver for the African continent. But also you can have access to the pillars such as forecasts for decision making, web innovation, and also remote sensing data for African agriculture and the team behind the platform. Then you can go to the food crop production section or dashboard, and there you will have access to another sub-menu on food crop production forecast, crop mapping, crop suitability map, biogeophysical parameters, and crop phenology. We are going to review all of them one by one. For the first one, you can select here your future, production in this case, and the year of interest, 2025 or 2024, and crop of interest. Here, for example, we can go for groundnut, and then you click on visualize to make the map appear here on the dashboard. There are several aspects that you need to know. On your right, you have the legend here in grams, and that will help you to know what's the value of production here on the map with the color-coded pixels. Then you can also play with the minimum and the maximum value when it comes to production, just to make only the pixels that have values between these range min and max to appear. And you can also play with the color scale depending on what you want to show on the map. You can also print the map as an image. Here we use the PNG extension, or you can also download it as a TIFF file if you intend to do further analysis. When we come back here, you can also zoom in on the map to see those pixels appear. The map is also interactive. As you can see here, each pixel will be associated with the estimated and forecasted production for groundnut for the year 2025. You can also here change the background map. For example, here we can select the dark matter, and there you'll be able to have that background as black. It's also important to know that you can change here the administrative level that you are interested in, from level 0 national level to level 2, and the map is still interactive and will tell you where you are at. Now I will move to the crop mapping, which is the map that shows where a specific crop is growing in Senegal for the year 2025, but we also have access to 2024. It is important to understand that this map is a probabilistic map, meaning that the pixel values are probabilities that tells you the level of confidence that a specific crop has been growing there. Here in particular, millet. Let's change it and go for groundnut and the year of interest like 2025, and we can visualize it. And there you will have a new map here with the probability of crops presence between 0 and 1, since they are probabilities. Similarly to the production, you can also zoom in to see more details when it comes to pixels, and also the interactivity of the maps, where you can have access to the level of probability for each of those pixels. Similar to food crop production forecast, you can also play with some visualization tools, and you can also download the maps or changing the background layer. Now we can also go to the crop suitability map. The crop suitability map tells us where else in the country do we have the suitable growing conditions where a specific crop could grow. And here, for example, we can select sorghum, but we have also access to other crops and the year of interest 2025 or 2024. And you have here access to not only the biogeophysical parameters or growing conditions that helps to compute the suitability map, but the composite index that help us actually to know where else in Senegal we can grow sorghum. So here you have the pixel values. Red here means on your right you have the legend suitable area but that are not cultivated, and the yellow ones are the suitable area and cultivated as predicted from the crop type map. And you also have access to the same visualization tool as shown earlier. Now you also have access to the biogeophysical parameters. These are, for example, the vegetation index or the land surface temperature, or you can also have access to the rainfall data, for example. The rainfall data is a daily data, and then therefore you can see that the curve will be a little bit more dense compared to the vegetation and the land surface temperature. When you look at here the vegetation index, you have a legend of the maximum for the last 20 years in blue, the mean value, the minimum value for the last 20 years, and all the years that we cover. If you are just interested in the latest year, for example 2025, and the mean and the max, you can just unselect by clicking on the years here, and therefore you see them disappear from the graph. And you can now compare the minimum, the maximum, the current value, and the mean value for the entire data set that we have. You can also click here and have a full screen view. You can also download the data as an image, as a CSV table, or as an Excel table. The same features applies here when it comes to temperature. And here also we can say, for instance, that we are interested in only 2025 and the mean value, and you see them disappear also as well. Those graphs are also interactive. And here, when we look at, for example, the rainfall data, as I said, it's a daily data. We can also say we are just interested in the mean, the max, and the 2025 data. So you just click on the year and it will unselect or select the year that you are interested in. Remember that you can also go full screen or download the data as an image or as a table. Now let's go to the crop phenology matrix, where we track the cycle of the vegetative cycle of crops in Senegal. Here, for example, I can select sorghum, and anywhere in the country I can click in an area. From there I will be able to know what are the dates and the intensity of vegetation index for the beginning of the season, but also the peak of a season and the end of the season. That helps actually to have an idea where we are at in the season when it comes to a specific crop in terms of growing stages and in a specific region. That also is something available here. Remember though, also you can download all the maps here or go for full screen, similar to the graphs that we have here as well. Now this is it for the food crop production section. We can go to the climate section, and on the climate section we have two tabs. The first one is about methane emissions. You can select, for example, any information here. It's a weekly data. So once you select the week you are interested in, you can click on visualize. For example, here this is on April 21st, 2025, where you see like the data when it comes to methane here in Senegal, and it's interactive. You can also click on any pixel, you will have the emission rate. For example, here it's like near to 1940 part per billion volume in Senegal. And you also have here the range in terms of color-coded pixels. You can also change, similar to other features, the background map, or change the value here, for example, just to make sure that the pixels that will appear on the map will be between 1900 and 1931. You can also download the data here as an image or as a TIFF file, and you can change also, for example, the color scale. Another feature that is interesting is if you are looking for a time series data and trying to find a way of visualizing it on the platform without further analysis, you can, for example, click here on the play, and then you will have an image every one frame per second. If that rate is too high or too low, you can also increase it. That gives you a little bit more time to observe a map. And lastly, I will go to the temperature trend analysis when it comes to climate. Here for Senegal, when you click in any region here in the country, you will have an anomaly map that will measure the distance between the average temperature that we have in a month and versus the same average temperature for the same months for the last 40 years. So you will see this on the title. For example, here we have minus 295, which is among the lowest extreme when it comes to the temperature, average temperature here in August for Senegal, August, and for 2025 compared to the average temperature in all months of August for the last 40 years. And another information, you can also scroll down to see what are the months within the years of the data set that have been most extreme in terms of temperature for historical information. And you can also have access to the daily stats when it comes to temperature. And here you also have a graph. The same principle applies here. If you're interested in 2025, for example, just by hovering on top of the legend items, you'll be able to single out one graph for your visualization. But if you want to really unselect one of them, and you just have to click on it and it will disappear. For example, let's say we are interested in only comparing the maximum temperature in 2025 versus the other years. So I'm going to have to unselect everything else, for example, that are minimum or mean value. And then from there, I will be able to only watch the maximum temperature for the other years. And here we can see, for example, the maximum value for 2025 might not be the maximum everywhere else when you look at the time scale. And then, for example, for 2022 also, it's not the case. So this allows actually some sort of analysis or anomaly detection analysis without having to do further analysis. And bear in mind, you still have access to the data to go in full screen or to download it as an image or as a table. You also have access to publications here that we regularly publish under our different series. Here we have the forecast series for all countries, and here in this case it is Senegal, where we publish all the forecasts that we do with the crops that we are targeting in the country. We are also looking at the Ukraine crisis, but for this case Senegal has not been covered, and for COVID-19 as well, but you can also have access to other publications elsewhere. I will stop here. This is the customized version of the Africa Agriculture Watch. You can have access to it 24/7. Thank you so much.